Imagine this. You're 27. You hate your job. Your bank account isn't growing.
You look around online and see people your age claiming they're making $20,000 a month from stocks, real estate, crypto, or some secret online business.
And then you see the sentence that changes everything. I can show you how. So you click. You watch the success story. You see the screenshots. The luxury apartment. The car. The laptop. The trading screen. And then comes the offer. $997. Limited spots. Only available today.
Join thousands of successful students.
And you think, what if this is my way out? So you buy it. And for the first few days, you feel incredible. You haven't made $1 yet. But somehow, you already feel richer. And that's where the problem begins. The core idea. I'm going to tell you something uncomfortable. Some of the people selling you financial education aren't primarily in the business of making investors. They're in the business of selling hope.
And those are two very different businesses. Your course might not be an illegal scam.
Nobody necessarily stole your money. You got exactly what the sales page promised. Videos. Modules. A private community. Maybe even a weekly Q&A. But here's the question nobody asks. Did the course actually make you wealthier? Because the person who sold it to you may have become significantly richer. By selling the course.
Not by using the strategy they're teaching.
And once you see that distinction, the entire industry starts looking different. The business model. Let's say someone genuinely built a successful business.
Or made money investing.
Or bought real estate at the right time. They spend 10, 15, maybe 20 years figuring things out. Then one day they realize something. There's another way to monetize their experience. They don't have to keep finding investments. They don't have to keep building businesses. They can simply package their story.
Record a few weeks of content.
Hire an editor. Build a beautiful website. Add testimonials. And sell access to their system.
Now imagine they sell a $1,000 course to 10,000 people.
That's $10 million. And suddenly the economics look very different.
Why spend 20 years trying to make $10 million?
When you can teach people how you supposedly made it? The product might not be wealth. The product might be the dream of wealth. And here's the fascinating part. These businesses don't usually succeed because they're stupid. They succeed because they're very good at understanding human psychology. Let's break it down. Step 1: the origin story. Every great financial course needs a story. Usually it sounds something like this. I was broke. I had $200 in my bank account. I was working a job I hated. I discovered this one strategy. And everything changed. Now, the story might actually be true. That's what makes it powerful. Maybe they really were broke. Maybe they really did build wealth. But there's one enormous detail often missing. The method didn't create the entire story. Timing did. Luck did. Starting capital did. Connections did. Market conditions did. Their personality did. And sometimes, they simply got very good at something. But those details don't fit nicely into a $997 sales page. Be patient for 20 years isn't exactly a viral headline. Step 2: the success stories. Then come the testimonials. This is where the screen fills with smiling faces. I made $47,000. I quit my job. My first $100,000. And you think, see? It works. But stop for a second. Ask yourself, where are all the people it didn't work for?
Because if 10,000 people buy something, and 20 become wildly successful, the company doesn't put the other 9,980 people on the homepage. They show you the winners, the outliers, the people who succeeded. And your brain quietly makes a dangerous assumption. If they did it, I probably can too. That's survivorship bias. You aren't seeing the whole cemetery. You're seeing the winners standing on top of it. Step 3, social proof. Then comes the number. 50,000 students. 100,000 members. Over $500 million generated by our community. It sounds impressive. But ask a different question. How many people actually succeeded? If 100,000 people bought a course and 100 people became wealthy, that's not proof of extraordinary success. It's proof that 100 people succeeded. The other 99,900 matter too. But you never see their screenshots. You don't get their testimonials. And you certainly don't get a montage of people saying, I spent $2,000 and nothing happened. Step 4, the incentive problem. And this is the part one think matters most. Ask yourself, when does the course creator get paid? When you succeed? Or when you buy? Usually, when you buy. That's an incentive problem. The creator doesn't necessarily get rewarded because your portfolio grows. They get rewarded because your credit card goes through. So what does the business optimize? The sales funnel. The thumbnail. The webinar. The urgency. The testimonials. The guarantee. The promise. Everything designed to answer one question. How do we get this person to buy? And once you've bought, the economic relationship has fundamentally changed. Now let's talk about what they're actually selling. Because most financial secrets fall into a few familiar categories. Stock picking. Use this indicator to find the next 10x stock. Sounds amazing. But consistently identifying future winners is incredibly difficult. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the person selling the strategy got the stock right, without actually knowing why. They picked 10 stocks. 3 exploded. 7 fell. Which 3 do you think make it into the YouTube thumbnail? Exactly. Real estate flipping. Buy here. Renovate. Sell for $100,000 more. It sounds simple. But real estate requires capital. Financing. Taxes. Insurance. Maintenance. Transaction costs. And most importantly, timing. A strategy that worked beautifully during a rising market may look completely different when prices stop rising. But here's the problem. The course doesn't automatically update when the market changes. The sales page still works. So the course stays. Crypto trading. Then there's crypto. This is your chance. The next Bitcoin is coming. Here's my automated trading bot. Turn $5,000 into $100,000. And this is where people can lose money incredibly quickly. Because the promise is psychologically irresistible. Fast money. No waiting. No decades. No boring compounding. Just buy this. Follow me. Get rich. And that's exactly why it sells. Now here's where this story gets interesting. Because I'm not telling you that wealth is impossible. It's not. I'm telling you something much less exciting. Building wealth is usually incredibly boring. And that's precisely why nobody wants to sell it to you. Step 1: earn more than you spend. That's it. If you bring home $5,000 and your life costs $3,500, you have $1,500 available to build your future. And if you don't have that $1,500, then the first financial strategy isn't stock picking. It's increasing the gap.
better skills, better job, negotiation, career growth, side income, lower unnecessary expenses. Step 2. Automate investing. Don't rely on motivation. Don't wake up every month and ask, should I invest? Make the decision once. Automate it. Every paycheck, every month, money moves into diversified, low-cost investments. Step 3. Leave it alone. This might be the hardest part. Because eventually, the market will crash. Your portfolio will fall. The news will scream. Markets collapse. Your friend will tell you about some stock that's going to explode. Someone online will claim they found the next big thing. And you'll feel the temptation. But wealth isn't built by constantly reacting. It's often built by staying invested while everyone else is panicking. Step 4. Repeat. Repeat. For years. Not weeks. Not 90 days. Not until I get rich. Years. Decades. And that's the secret nobody wants to hear. Time does most of the heavy lifting. And honestly, that doesn't make a very good $5,000 course. Because I just explained most of it to you. For free. Here's something strange. The financial strategy that is easiest to sell isn't necessarily the strategy that is easiest to follow. People want excitement. They want an edge. They want information nobody else has. They want to feel like they're inside the room. That's why complicated strategies feel valuable. Technical indicators, charts, trading signals, secret formulas, private communities, exclusive information. But complexity can create the illusion of expertise. And sometimes, simple is actually more sophisticated. Because simple strategies are easier to understand, easier to automate, easier to repeat, and much harder to sabotage with emotion. But there's another side of this story. And I don't want to talk about it like these people were stupid. Because they weren't. They were human. They wanted something better. And that's important. Michael. Let's say Michael is 27. He works a normal corporate job. He makes $5,000 a month. He's doing okay. But he doesn't feel like he's getting ahead. Then one night, while scrolling Instagram, he sees a guy around his age. Luxury car. Nice apartment. Watch. Caption. How I make $20,000 a month trading. Michael stops scrolling. Because for the first time, he sees someone who looks like him. Living the life he wants. The course costs $997. He doesn't really have the money. So he puts it on a credit card. And tells himself, this is an investment in myself. For 3 months, he follows the strategy. A few trades work. He gets excited. Then the market turns. His gains disappear. Then his original money disappears. And suddenly Michael isn't just down money. He's ashamed. He thinks, maybe I'm just bad at investing. But what if the problem wasn't Michael? What if the strategy was never as reliable as the marketing made it appear? That's the part that hurts. Because the victim doesn't just lose money. They lose confidence. Sarah. Now imagine Sarah. She's a single mother. She doesn't need a Lamborghini. She doesn't want to become an influencer. She just wants another $1,000 or $2,000 a month. Enough to breathe. Enough to stop checking her bank account before buying groceries. She finds a course promising exactly that. Build a passive income business from home. $1,200. She can't afford it. But she thinks, if this works, it will pay for itself. So she buys. She works at night. After her child goes to sleep. Week after week. She builds the website. Creates content. Tries to generate traffic. And months later. $0. Not $10,000. Not $5,000. Not even $100. Zero. And now she has another problem. She has to tell her family that the money is gone. That's not just a financial loss. That's emotional. The common thread. Michael wasn't stupid. Sarah wasn't lazy. And the other people who fall for these programs aren't necessarily gullible. The common thread is much simpler. And once you understand the psychology, you start seeing it everywhere. Social proof. 50,000 students. Authority. This investor has 2 million followers. FOMO. Only 17 spots left. Hope. Your life can change in 90 days. Scarcity. Enrollment closes tonight. And then there's the most powerful one. Your fear of being left behind. You see other people getting rich. You wonder, what do they know that I don't? And that's the emotional gap the course is designed to fill. Not necessarily with knowledge. Sometimes, with reassurance. Now let's say you're watching this. And you're thinking, oh no. You already bought the course. Maybe it cost $500. Maybe $2,000. Maybe $10,000. And you're angry. Maybe embarrassed. Maybe you're thinking, I need to finish it so I can at least get my money's worth. Stop. Take a breath. The money is already gone. That's the sunk cost trap. You don't get your money back by spending another 6 months following a strategy you no longer believe in. You get your future back by refusing to lose more. The 90-day reset. Days 1 to 30. Read one serious investing book. Not 10. 1. Learn the basics. Risk. Compounding. Diversification. Fees. Taxes. Behavior. Days 31 to 60. Study real companies. Read annual reports. Look at actual financial statements. Don't watch someone yelling into a camera about the next trillion-dollar stock. Read what the company actually reports. Days 61 to 90. Find someone who's genuinely ahead of you. Not someone with a rented Lamborghini. Someone who has quietly built wealth. Buy them coffee. Ask questions. Listen. And here's the important part. Don't ask them for a secret. Ask them, what mistakes should I avoid? That question can be worth more than an entire course. 5 red flags. Red flag number 1. They make more money teaching the strategy than using it. Ask, if this works so well, why is selling me the course the main business? Red flag number 2. They promise specific returns. 10% every month. Double your money. Guaranteed income. The moment someone guarantees an investment return, walk away. Red flag number 3. Artificial urgency. Only 24 hours. Last 5 seats. Never available again. Real knowledge doesn't disappear at midnight. Red flag number 4. Only success stories. Ask, what's the failure rate? If they can't answer, that's an answer. Red flag number 5. They sell a lifestyle instead of an education. If the sales pitch spends more time showing you cars, watches, vacations and mansions than explaining risk, you're probably not buying education. You're buying aspiration. And here's where I think the story gets bigger than courses. Because people actually need financial education. That's the uncomfortable truth. Most people aren't taught how money works. They graduate knowing algebra. They know history. They know biology. But then they get their first paycheck. And nobody explains. 401(k)s. Taxes. Debt. Interest. Investing. Compounding. Insurance. Mortgages. So when someone appears online and says, "Don't worry, I'll teach you everything," people listen. Because there's a genuine hole in our education system. And these businesses have figured out how to monetize that hole. The secret is that there is no secret. So let me bring you back to the person we met at the beginning. The 27-year-old sitting on his phone. Watching someone else's Lamborghini. Thinking, maybe that's my way out. Here's what I wish someone had told him. You don't need a secret. You don't need a guru. You don't need a $5,000 mastermind. You don't need to predict the next stock. You don't need to become a day trader. And you definitely don't need someone shouting at you from a rented sports car telling you that you're one decision away from becoming a millionaire. You need something much less exciting. You need to earn. Save. Invest. Keep learning. Avoid stupid risks. And give it time. Because here's the cruel irony of the financial education industry. The thing that makes the least money for the person selling it may be the thing that makes the most sense for you. Nobody gets rich from a thumbnail. Nobody builds lasting wealth from motivation alone. And there probably isn't a secret strategy hiding behind the next $997 paywall. The secret is that there is no secret. It's time. It's discipline. It's consistency. It's letting compound growth work while you live your life. And 20 years from now, you may look back and realize something. The biggest financial decision you ever made wasn't buying the right course. It was deciding to stop looking for shortcuts. Because the boring path wasn't exciting. It was just working.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं, फिल्मोरा है ना।